Have you ever wondered what really happens to your body, your mind, and your spirit when you stop one of life's most natural, powerful, and personal acts, masturbation? A word so often wrapped in shame, silence, or secrecy, especially for those who grew up in more conservative times. For many seniors, it wasn't something you talked about. It was hidden, whispered about, or outright condemned. So it's no surprise that as time passes, the habit gradually fades away, pushed aside by health concerns, cultural conditioning, or simply a growing sense of disconnect from the body. But here's the truth that most doctors won't say out loud when self-pleasure ends something deeper than just libido begins to fade. It's not about lust. It's about life. Your hormones, your circulation, your confidence, your sleep, your prostate health, even your emotional balance, they are all impacted. And yes, it's also about dignity, the kind that often disappears quietly as we age. Before we continue, if you haven't subscribed yet, take a second and tap that subscribe button. We're here to bring you deeply personal, empowering health content that others are afraid to talk about. And if you're enjoying this video so far, let me know with a 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 and tell me how I can make it better for you. Now let's dive into the first and most physical reason this topic matters. 1. The body responds to what it no longer receives. Think about it, your muscles weaken if you don't use them, your joints stiffen if you stop moving, and your sexual organs. They're no different. When masturbation ceases completely, blood flow to the pelvic region decreases significantly. That might sound harmless, but it isn't. Reduced circulation in that area leads to physical changes. For men, this could mean diminished sensitivity, discomfort, or an increased risk of prostate complications. For women, it might show up as vaginal dryness, irritation, or a growing sense of detachment from the body. Shockingly, these changes don't take years to manifest. In just a few months without sexual stimulation, the body can begin to forget the patterns it once knew so well. And unlike in your younger years, it takes much longer to restore what's lost. A gentle, regular practice of self-pleasure, even just once or twice a week, can help maintain elasticity, sensitivity, and comfort in the pelvic region. It's like brushing your teeth. You wouldn't stop doing that just because you're getting older, right? Then why neglect another essential part of your health? This isn't about forcing desire, it's about protecting function, preventing unnecessary pain, preserving something that was always meant to be a living, breathing part of you. But of course, there's more to this than just the physical. 2. The emotional toll of disconnection. Let's move beyond the flesh for a moment. What happens to your spirit when you stop connecting with yourself in this deeply personal way? For many older adults, the absence of masturbation doesn't just dull physical sensations. It quietly begins to drain the emotional color from life. You may start feeling less interested in your appearance, less connected to your identity, or even less visible in the world. Where once there was pleasure, there's now a void, a silence. Masturbation, far from being a selfish act, is actually a declaration: this body still belongs to me. It reminds you that you're still capable of feeling, of choosing, of being. It's an anchor grounding you in your inner world, especially when everything else may feel like it's slipping away. Without it, anxiety can deepen, confidence can shrink, loneliness can grow quietly even in a house full of people. This emotional distancing doesn't just stay inside. It can affect how you relate to others. Less touch, less warmth, less light in your eyes. But here's the beautiful truth. It doesn't have to be this way. You can reconnect, reclaim, reawaken. Because when you stop reaching for yourself in love, you may slowly stop reaching for the world around you. And that, my friend, is where we start to lose not just intimacy, but vitality. And that brings us to one of the most overlooked pieces of this entire puzzle, especially for men. 3. Prostate health depends on activity. Let's talk about the prostate. That small gland often ignored until it screams for attention. What most people don't realize is that regular ejaculation isn't just about pleasure. It's about protection. Without it, fluids can build up in the prostate, leading to congestion, discomfort, and even a higher risk of inflammation or infection. There's even a term for it: prostate congestion. Over time, this can contribute to conditions like benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH, which can cause frequent nighttime urination, difficulty emptying the bladder, or worse. Ejaculation through masturbation stimulates blood flow. It clears old fluids. It keeps the prostate active. And that's not just theory, it's supported by decades of clinical observation. Yet so many older men stop entirely, not because they want to, but because they were taught to feel shame, or because they didn't realize the consequences of going completely silent in this vital area of health. You don't need to be sexually active in the conventional sense. You don't need a partner. All you need is to remain in loving contact with yourself. That small, simple choice can help protect your prostate, your confidence, and your peace of mind. And for those wondering, isn't it too late for me? The answer is a resounding no. The body, like the soul, remembers. And when treated with kindness and care, it responds. So what if we stopped treating masturbation like a guilty habit and started seeing it for what it truly is? A sacred practice of self-respect, a silent act of health preservation, a pathway back to your deepest self. In the next part of this video, we'll explore even more profound ways that sexual self-connection affects your energy, your sleep, your hormone balance, and even your ability to love and be loved. If this message is resonating with you, leave a comment with the words, "I choose connection." Let others know they're not alone. And remember, this channel in Deep Psyche is more than just videos. It's a safe space to rediscover who you truly are, beyond shame, beyond silence, beyond fear. Until next time, stay kind to your body, stay curious about your heart, and stay open to the power of your own touch. Because sometimes the path to healing starts not with the doctor's advice, but with a single moment of stillness, a single act of self-love. And that moment can change everything. Sometimes the path to healing starts with something as simple as touch. In the previous section, we explored how regular self-pleasure supports prostate health and prevents stagnation. Now let's go even deeper, not just into the body, but into the chemistry of the brain, the softness of human touch, and the quiet and emotional intimacy we so often forget we still deserve. Let's begin where many wouldn't expect, inside your mind. Peter. 4. Hormonal balance and brain chemistry. Most people associate masturbation with physical release, but few realize how profoundly it influences your inner world, your emotions, sleep, energy, and even how clearly you think. When you stimulate your body and reach orgasm, an extraordinary sequence of chemical events is set in motion. Your brain lights up like a constellation, releasing a cascade of natural neurochemicals, dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins, and prolactin. These aren't just feel-good hormones. They are essential messengers guiding your emotional regulation, pain relief, sleep cycles, and even your immune system. Dopamine gives you that spark of motivation, the zest to wake up and feel alive. Oxytocin, often called the cuddle hormone, promotes relaxation and a sense of emotional connection even if you're alone. Endorphins act as your body's natural painkillers, helping you feel lighter, less burdened, more joyful. A prolactin helps regulate your sleep, especially the deep restorative kind that becomes harder to reach as we age. This means that even when you're not in a romantic relationship, even when your days feel quiet and still, this simple act can release a cocktail of natural support your body and mind crave. And you don't need a prescription, a copay, or a trip to the doctor's office. All it requires is time, presence, and permission from yourself. Without these natural hormonal waves, many older adults slowly slide into emotional flatness without even realizing why. Sleep becomes elusive. Stress hangs in the air like heavy fog. Some even begin to feel emotionally numb or strangely distant from their own thoughts and feelings. So the question becomes, what if this private ritual isn't indulgence but medicine? What if through this act of self-connection, you're telling your nervous system, you are safe, you are loved, you are still whole? And as the brain responds with soothing chemicals, the body begins to awaken in another forgotten way through touch. 5. Touch is a basic human need. Even when it comes from yourself, touch is not a luxury. It is a human necessity. And yet, as we grow older, it becomes one of the things we receive the least. We stop being hugged as often. Intimacy might fade in long-term relationships. And in many cases, people begin to avoid touching even their own bodies, treating them as fragile vessels, machines to be maintained rather than homes to be cherished. But here's the quiet truth: your body is still listening. It still longs to be acknowledged. When we touch ourselves with care, we're not just maintaining physical function, we're offering ourselves presence. We're saying, I see you, I still care, I still belong to myself. Masturbation becomes something deeper. It becomes a form of emotional tending, a gentle way to reclaim yourself, not as a problem to be solved, but as a being worthy of comfort. It's not just about climax, it's about grounding, it's about remembering. Too many seniors treat their bodies like something separate from who they are. They go through their daily routines, bathing, dressing, taking medications, without ever really feeling themselves, without warmth, without reverence. But a few minutes of self-touch can change all that. It can melt the distance. It can reconnect the mind and the body after years of silent detachment. It's in those moments when the world is still, when no one is watching, that we begin to whisper to ourselves, I am still here. I still matter. I still feel. And that quiet affirmation might be the most healing medicine of all. 6. Intimacy doesn't end. When partnerships do, relationships change. People pass on. Some grow distant emotionally even while living under the same roof. And many seniors find themselves navigating aging in solitude. In those quiet years, it's easy to believe that intimacy is something you have lost forever, something that belonged to a younger version of yourself, or to a time when a partner was near. But here's something no one tells you. Intimacy doesn't begin with another person. It begins with you. Masturbation in older age becomes a way to keep intimacy alive. Not as a replacement for a partner, but as a declaration, I am still capable of love. I am still capable of tenderness. I still honor my own desire. It is an act of emotional sovereignty. Instead of waiting for someone else to bring you warmth, you bring it to yourself. And in that, you reclaim more than pleasure, you reclaim your agency. You remind yourself that the ability to feel hasn't disappeared. It's just been waiting patiently for you to return. This kind of private closeness can soften loneliness. It can bring calm to the quiet evenings. It can restore a sense of wholeness when the world feels distant or cold. You don't need a partner to be intimate. You need presence. You need permission. You need trust in your own deservingness. And yet many people carry a lifetime of shame around this topic. The guilt is old. It's been inherited from a culture that confused self-care with sin. But that burden, that outdated guilt, can be released. Because here's the thing, touching yourself, loving yourself, connecting to yourself, it's not something to feel guilty for. It's something to feel grateful for. And in the next section, we'll explore why that guilt must be left behind, because the cost of carrying it is far greater than most people ever realize. If you've made it this far and this message resonates with something deep inside you, take a moment to comment, I choose reconnection below. Let others know they're not alone in this gentle return to self. And remember, deep psyche is more than a channel. It's a sanctuary, a mirror, a place to remember who you've always been beneath the noise, ready to keep going. Then let's turn the page together, because the next insight could just set you free. Earlier, we spoke of releasing shame, and now it's time to fully let it go. Because if you grew up in a time when sexuality, especially self-pleasure, was hidden beneath layers of silence, fear, and judgment, you're not alone. For many older adults, this shame was not chosen, it was inherited. 7. The shame was never yours to begin with. Let it go. Let's be honest. For decades, society painted a warped picture of sexuality. It wasn't just uncomfortable, it was condemned. Growing up, many of you were surrounded by messages from family, religion, and the culture at large that told you masturbation was wrong, dirty, sinful, something to be hidden or punished. And over time, that shame didn't just sit outside you, it crept inward, quietly, deeply, like dust settling over a mirror, obscuring the way you saw yourself. But let me ask you something. What if none of that was ever truly yours? What if that shame, those awkward silences, those judgmental glances, those scolding voices was simply passed down generation to generation like an old superstition? Here's the truth, plain and clear. You have the right to let it go. The idea that self-pleasure is something to be ashamed of is outdated, harmful, and false. It is not a sign of weakness. It is not a moral failure. It is a natural, healthy, and even healing part of being human at any age. For older adults, releasing this shame isn't just symbolic, it's transformational. It's like shedding a heavy coat you didn't know you were wearing. When you stop treating self-intimacy as something forbidden or embarrassing, you begin to reclaim something far more powerful than physical pleasure, your emotional sovereignty. You take back your right to feel, to connect, to be whole. And what replaces shame is not just passive acceptance. It's peace, it's dignity. It's a quiet kind of confidence that moves through the way you speak, walk, rest, and even sleep. When you understand deeply that your body is still worthy of care, pleasure, and attention, you begin to move differently in the world. You stop apologizing for being human. You start giving yourself permission to exist fully unapologetically. You may find that sleep comes easier, that your mood softens, that your days feel less rigid, more alive. That your body, even in its aging form, still responds with gratitude to loving attention. This is why removing shame is not a small act, it's a spiritual act. It's a reclamation of your freedom, your presence, your ability to care for yourself on your own terms. And once that shame is cleared away, something beautiful happens. Space opens up. Space for intentional care, for tenderness, for new habits that feel nurturing instead of rushed or guilty. And that brings us to a crucial turning point, not just the why, but the how. Because knowing this is healthy is one thing, but practicing it safely and comfortably, especially in later life, requires a few gentle guidelines. 8. Practical tips for safe, healthy self-intimacy. Now that we've released the emotional weight, let's talk about caring for your body with patience and respect. Masturbation in older adulthood isn't about chasing performance or reliving the past. It's about presence, meeting yourself where you are now. Your body has changed over the years, and that's perfectly natural. What once worked or felt pleasurable decades ago might not feel the same today, and that's not a loss, it's simply evolution. So how do you approach self-intimacy now? The same way you'd approach any other form of self-care, with kindness, mindfulness, and intention. Start by choosing a quiet, private space where you feel safe and relaxed. This is your time. There's no need to rush, no finish line to reach. You're not performing for anyone. You're reconnecting with yourself. Give yourself permission to explore without judgment. This is a moment of self-respect, not indulgence. If you've noticed dryness or discomfort, especially with aging skin, lubrication can make a world of difference. A simple addition, but a powerful one. Lubricants reduce friction, prevent irritation, and even enhance sensation. You can experiment with different types, water-based silicone or natural oils, until you find what suits your skin and preferences. For men, allow yourself time with stimulation. There's no need to push for a specific outcome. Let sensation guide you instead of goal setting. For women, gentle touch and a slow rediscovery of sensitive areas can awaken feelings that may have gone quiet over time. There's nothing wrong with moving slowly. In fact, it's part of the beauty of this stage in life. You have the wisdom and the patience to be present with yourself. Throughout the process, notice what your body tells you. Do you feel more relaxed, more at ease, more alive? Self-intimacy is not just about what happens in the moment, it's about how you feel afterward. A sense of calm, a gentle mood lift, a soft reconnection with your own body and spirit. This isn't just a physical act, it's a ritual of self-awareness. And like any health practice, what matters most isn't intensity, it's consistency. Gentle, regular self-connection can improve circulation, regulate hormones, support prostate and pelvic health, ease loneliness, and boost emotional well-being. So if you've been wondering, is this really still for me? The answer is yes. It's not only for you, it's especially for you. And now that you know how to do it in a way that supports your health gently, safely, and lovingly, there's one final reflection to make. Because while embracing this truth is powerful, continuing to ignore this part of yourself may carry risks that are deeper than you think. In the final section, we'll speak openly about what happens when this part of your health is left unattended and why self-intimacy in later life may be one of the most dignified and necessary acts of all. Let's walk there together.